My dad was on a mission to make sure that we knew where we come from. So we all went back to Nigeria. I think my teacher then in elementary school here in the US, she was telling the kids that I'm leaving, and all of them were kind of felt bad for me, because I want Americans to know that Nigeria is not what you see on TV, and I want Nigerians to know that America is not all that as well. I was on the aisle, laying down on the floor, and they were shouting, "Is there a doctor on this plane?" And everything I could see, Faith, was my children. And if I went to heaven, will God tell me, "Well done"? Did I do everything He said in my capacity and with His help? Did I do? Because we're all giving gifts, and the gifts we're given is not for us, it's for other people to use.
This is the Christian Readers Community Podcast.
A quiet whisper in the night so near, stories of faith that draw you here. The words unfold like morning's glow, a place of truth where hearts will grow. A gentle breeze that turns the page, wisdom passed through every age. Come gather around and take your seat, the Christian Reader's Tales complete.
Welcome to the Christian Readers Community. I am back, and you can hear the smile in my voice, and that's because I'm so excited about my guest. And I'll go on ahead and welcome her to the show, and we'll both tell you why I am excited to have her, and I believe she's also excited to be with me today on the show. So welcome to the show, Unoma Nwankwor. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Faith. How you doing?
I'm good, and I'm so excited to have you. Tell us about your name so that my listeners will, because we have actually, I don't know what I should say. This is strange. I'm recording actually from Nigeria, but majority of our listeners are in the United States.
Well, it's a small world, so the world is getting smaller, so we accept it as we can.
So tell us about you, and tell us about the name Unoma Nwankwor.
Well, Unoma means, as you know, everybody from, let me not generalize and say Africa, but I know Nigerians all give their children names with a purpose. It always has a meaning behind it. I'm the first girl of my parents. My name is Unoma. Unoma means happy home, where I come from. Nwankwor is just my husband's last name. My maiden name is Osiru. I come from Iseluku in Delta State. It is right after Asaba. So that's where I do come from. I was born in Akron, Ohio, here in the United States. And then when I was about 8, my brothers were born in Georgia. But when I was about 8, being the eldest, my dad was on a mission to make sure that we knew where we come from. So we all went back to Nigeria. He got a job. He was teaching in America here, but then he got a job in University of Port Harcourt. So we all went back home to see where we come from. Now that was a culture shock. I remember when we were supposed to go back home, I think my teacher then in elementary school here in the US, she was telling the kids that I'm leaving, and all of them were kind of felt bad for me, because, the picture that we get in those days, so I'm talking about the late 70s, 80s, the picture that we were told about Africa, me included, because remember, I was born here, so I didn't know anything about Africa, was that it was just this third world place full of killing, hunger, starvation, any bad thing you can think of. Nothing good came out of there. So my friends, I remember them feeling really sorry for me. I was leaving this grand place and going back to that doomsday place. But anyway, when I got back home, it was a culture shock. It was a lot different. I will never forget the smell of Murtala Muhammad Airport as an 8-year-old girl. Now I know that what it was disinfectant they were using to clean. But at that time, I didn't know what it was. So there was a lot of culture shock there. There were a lot of people that my dad and mom said that my aunties and uncles that I hadn't talked to before. But anyway, as time went on and went by, we became accustomed to Niger. And that became like my home. And I got to learn that a lot of things that we were taught in America about Nigeria or Africa as a whole is not true. It's not true at all. And that's kind of like the basis behind my books. So my books, I know we're not there yet, but my books talk about, I went to the University of Port Harcourt anyway. And I think the month after I graduated, I moved back to the U.S. Because my dad was like, if you want to go back to the U.S., you can go. If you want to stay in Nigeria, you can stay. And, my brothers chose to come back. I chose to come back after a while. But I got to figure out, because I remember the first day I was in downtown Atlanta and I saw a homeless person. Faith, you can't believe the shock on my face. I was like, it's here too. Ha! I picked my phone. I called my dad. I said, Daddy, people sleep on the floor in America too. And he was like, yeah. So then I got to know that a lot of things that they tell us in Nigeria about the greener pastures is not really green, right? So, because they're suffering here too. But so that's the reason why my books are the way they are. My characters are mostly Africans who are either in the diaspora or back in Africa. That's why I set my books. They're about people like me. And when I say like me, I mean people who feel a strong pull between two cultures, because I'm American and I'm also Nigerian. Nigeria is my dominant culture, but I am an American. And then you have those two cultures where I love poundo, but at the same time, I love sweet potato. So I'm a mixture of the two. And I know that there are people out there that are just like me. So my books are kind of like for people like me that are me. And then I explore. I get people to know that what you're being taught on TV is not the real thing. All the while, there's always Jesus in my book. So he's always there. It's a Christian worldview. I have faith as the backbone. I write sweet romance, but I mostly write Christian and faith-filled or faith-driven stories that take people on an adventure. I had someone tell me my books are immersive, that they can go on what do they call it? They said they can go on a trip around Africa for just $5 a book. So I feel proud when people tell me that they feel immersed into the story and into the settings, because I want Americans to know that Nigeria is not what you see on TV, and I want Nigerians to know that America is not all that as well. They are different. Everywhere has a slap story, and that's what I try to make sure that we portray. I don't feel anybody or human being is bigger than the other.
Yeah, and it's such beautiful to get to know you, because I'm actually speaking with you from PH City, Garden City.
That's my stomping ground.
Yeah, so I'm also speaking to you from Port Harcourt, and to get to know that you grew up in this town.
Yeah. Yes, so. Transamadi, GRA, Mukuta, all the things are my place. Those are my stomping ground. Yeah.
You talk about Woji, Waterlines, Rumola.
Exactly.
Rumokoro, Habari, Achilari.
These are all my stomping areas. I remember as a student, we used to calculate. Me and my friend were like, okay, can we just we will reach Rumola real quick and come back for the next lecture. She was like, let's try. So we'll go there because we want to get something, whether it's from Kingsway or Leventis or all those stores of those days. I know that they're not there anymore, but yeah, that was our stomping ground. PH City, yep, that's me.
So I'm so excited. Now my listeners know why I've just been full of smiles, having this interview with you. So, yeah, you talked about your book. Yeah, as you wrote in your profile, when I looked you up, 2 years ago, the first time I discovered you and your books. Said I like writing stories with guys with steez.
Mm-hmm. That's a real. I told her I was gonna steal it because she was like, your people always, your men always have steez, and now as somebody who is Gen X, I didn't know what steez was, so I had to have her define what steez meant, and I said, okay, yeah, you're right, they have to.
Yeah. So you've told us the heart of your story, and I must say you're doing an incredible job at it.
Thank you.
As someone who have read your book, and your book is widely popular here. I was actually surprised when I went to check this very huge community on, I think that was Telegram or was it Facebook? Yes, on Telegram, yes. And because I remember till today, they still talk about your books.
Really?
And I was like, oh, yes.
That's a surprise, and it's nice to know. You say it's Telegram? What is Telegram? You see how backward I am. I don't even know what Telegram is, but I'm going to find out when I figure out this podcast.
That's another social media. You sign up like it with your phone number. Yes.
Okay, almost like WhatsApp.
Yeah, but Telegram doesn't show your number, and that's actually what I like it.
Okay,
yes.
Got it. Okay.
Shows your username. So
okay.
Yes, and it's wonderful. What I have heard as a podcaster, and an author who has mingled with the international community. Sometimes I've heard someone who asked me if I know what a converse is, and I'm not sure if I'm going to forget that question anytime soon. Because I was like, how do you get to ask that question? Like, the person asked me if I know what a converse is. The shoe. Yeah. So
the shoe,
I was surprised. Yeah. Personally, I was surprised that the person asked that question. So I really love the fact that your book, enlightens both Africans and non-Africans that, there's good and bad everywhere. Yeah. We have both the poor and the rich, both in Africa and in the United States and other parts of the world. So I'd like you to share with us more about your book.
I grew up with a very strong family, right? And strong family does not mean perfect. So when I mean strong families, I mean families that show up for each other, right? Who, no matter what's going down, me and my brothers, just hypothetical, we can argue with each other all day long, but nobody from the outside should put their mouth. It's almost like, it's us against every other person. We stick together, we fight together, we build together, we learn together, we have faith together, pray to God together. We had a recent tragedy when my mom died 3 years ago, and because of that strong bond, me and my brothers, we came together. So I write about families. I have some standalone novels, and when I say standalone, I mean that the novel can be read by itself with no other attachment. However, I think my sweet spot are families, and one of my strongest families is the Danjumas. They are a family of 3 boys who were abandoned by their dad when they lived in London. That's why I always tell you that some of my characters like me, kind of. They lived in East London. Their dad abandoned them. Their dad is Muslim. Their mom is Christian. And their dad abandoned them because his family would not accept Christian, kids. So he came back to Nigeria and he married somebody, but just tell God your plans and he just laughs at you, because lo and behold, he married a Muslim woman, but she was not able to give him a son. She gave him just a girl. So when he died, he needed his will. He tried to, at the end of his life, reconcile with his sons, but they were now big people in their own rights. They had their lives. There was a project manager. He worked in London, who was the first son. There was a doctor, heart surgeon, who worked in Denver in America. And then there was an international soccer player who's the baby. That is one of my readers' best hero. They call him my OG bad boy. He's the one that started the whole heroes with steeds kind of thing. So when their dad finally died, his will would not be read and his property would be given to his brother if his sons do not agree to come back home. So, there's a lot of bad blood there. They're like, you didn't acknowledge us in life. Why are you looking for us in death? Now, why couldn't your Muslim wife have the sons that you needed or something like that? There was a lot of bad blood. But however, they came home and the first son, did take over. And like everything, I write romance. So of course, he found a girl who had her own baggage. And then they came together through love, forgiveness, redemption, the knowledge of Christ, and strong family ties. And of course, in my books, you must have flights and feelings. So they always travel somewhere in every book I write. And you get to know about the place they travel to. So that's how I educate my readers. Because I remember when I first started writing books, some Black Americans who are now I think a majority of my readers, I'm not so sure, but I think they're the most vocal ones that I know of. They come to me and they're like, oh my God, so this is here? So they have this in this? So they have this in this? That goes back to me saying that what we see on TV is not what it really is. And I'm glad to be able to use my pen to talk about the gospel and also to educate people on how things really are in other places they're not able to travel to. So, I have this Danjuma series. So those books are standalones, but they're interconnected. It's like I kind of write about Faith without writing about her sister. You, of course, appear in your sister's story because they're her sister. So they're interconnected, but you can read the books individually. But I always recommend for maximum pleasure to read them in order. So I write a lot of families. I have the Danjuma family. I have the Dubois-Rezi family. I have the Kalus, which is the one that you talked about. There's 3 cousins that live in America. They have good jobs and everything, but their grandmother won't let them rest. So one day their cousin calls them and says, Mama is taking auditions for who will be your wife for. That's when they were like, for what? No, we can't do that. So they decided to have fake relationships. So the first book in that series is called Rented Date because the guy rented a date. Then the second one had a fake engagement. So it's like fake everything. Fake relationship, fake engagement, fake marriage. So fake marriage, a suitable wife is the one we're talking about before the podcast started. So that's how I write families. And then people always make cameos in other books. My readers kind of like that. So that's the kind of like my sauce and where I've decided to stick to.
What a journey.
It really is.
Yeah, you try to take people through what it truly is. And I'm so glad that you're writing as someone who have seen from both lengths of, life, culture, and locations. Yeah, because at least you can someone who has never gone to America, writing about America, you obviously see the mistakes or some places that needs correction.
That's correct.
I don't who has never been to Africa, writing about Africa, the person will write it from the lens of an American, a pure born and bred American, but that's not the case with your book, and that's why they are purely original.
Yeah. Thank God for that experience because I'm able to write from you, and you're correct. I've lived here now for 20 plus years, and I lived at home in Port Harcourt for 20 plus years. I traveled to Lagos, I traveled to Benin, I traveled to Abuja. So they're not places where I'm just researching. These are places that I know, things that I know, cultures that I know. If I want to educate about Kenya, then I read and I figure out some things, but it's not like and they love that I put pidgin in my books. I use language, like the Danjumas are they're Hausa, so there will be some Hausa language in there. Their mother is Enugu, so I speak some Igbo in there. I always have a glossary at the back, but the meanings of what I say is inferred in the text. So I try to make it as an immersive experience as possible.
What made you go into writing? Because I know you could do other
wait,
things.
do we have time for that? Do we have
Let's
time
try.
for that?
Try.
Okay, so let me try and put it in a very neat bubble. I've always had a propensity for writing. I remember my mom used to come back from work and she would give me like her minutes or something and tell me to correct or redo or read over. So, I had that propensity to read and try to write. And I'm a very, very avid reader. There was this bookshop, shout out to DK's bookshop in Chuba, Port Harcourt, that, it was my stamp, my stamp. Every time my mom got paid or my dad got paid, I slept in that bookshop. So I read a lot, but I started to write a lot too, with my mom giving me things. And then as I grew older, I always wrote about my days. But it was not a diary. You know how we used to keep diary when we were growing up? It wasn't a diary, really. It was like my reflective thoughts of what the day could have been like, what it was like, what I learned from the day. So it was not like I went here and Bobby said this and this person. It wasn't those kind of diary writing. It was really reflective essays, kinda, And I would write that throughout the year. I just have a notebook and I write that. And I used to have this ritual where I would say the old has passed away and then bring in the new. So at the end of the year, I'll kind of like burn it. And then we'll start a new notebook. And so that's how I started to write. And as I got deeper into my faith, I started to write blog posts. That's why I now came to America, right? And I started to write blog posts. But somewhere in my mind, it was always something that kept pushing me to write so that people can read. And I always used to be like, why would people read what I'm writing? You get what I'm saying? So I started small. I was like, okay, let me obey the spirit though, but let me please just take care of myself in case people want to tear me apart on these internet places. So I used to do those small blog pieces that were like 300 words or things. And people will come and read them, they'll leave their little messages, but I wasn't giving my all. So I was not burnt in any kind of way. It was like a really safe space. Then, in 2012, I'll never forget it, because I suffer from sickle cell disease. So in 2012, I was going on a business meeting. I will never forget that day. And my chest started to hurt when I was at the airport. And my husband was like, are you sure you want to go? I was like, yes, I have to go for this meeting. So I was leaving Atlanta to go to Ohio. And we got on the plane, and on the plane I had a crisis. So I remember I was on the aisle, laying down on the floor, and they were shouting, is there a doctor on this plane? And everything I could see, Faith, was my children. And if I went to heaven, will God tell me well done? Those were the only two things that I could see when my body was aching, was, will God tell me well done? Did I do what he asked me to do? Did I do everything he said in my capacity and with his help? Did I do? Because we're all giving gifts, and the gifts we're given is not for us. It's for other people to use. And I think we forget that when we kind of get complacent in not doing what we're supposed to do, what we know God has pushed us to do. What we're doing is not for us, it's for the body of Christ. So somebody's waiting on what I'm supposed to be doing, so that they can do what they're supposed to be doing. And as so that person else can do what they're supposed to be doing. It's all connected, right? Paul talks about how the eye and the arm, they need each other. And that's all I could see. So anyway, the whole story short, I got admitted into the ICU. There was an ambulance waiting for me. I got admitted into the ICU. It took me about 4 months to get recovered. And after that 4 months, I wrote my first novel, which is An Unexpected Blessing. No training, no nothing. And then I always call her my destiny helper, because I love her books. I have all of her books. God just pushed me. I said, let me contact Rhonda McKnight. That way, I felt like my Michael Jackson. So my heart was beating, but I contacted her. And I said, I see you do this, and I always tell her that if you were not nice to me when I called you, I never would have written another word.
Oh, wow.
She was nice to me when I called her because I got her contact. And for some reason, she says I should call her. This is someone that has written novels that me, Seth, I used to be like, hey, God, when will I ever meet this woman? Today, me and her talk every day as if we're next door. She lives in South Carolina, but we talk all the time. We're very, very close friends. She knows me personally. I know her personally. But then, Faith, she was like this person. I was like, hey, God, when will I meet this? It's like how people admire Chimamanda in Nigeria. I was like, hey, God, how will I ever meet her? I always tell her till tomorrow, if that first day I talk to you and you were not nice to me, I would never have written another word.
Oh, wow.
Send it over. And so I sent it to her. She read it. And I know I probably did not follow the rules of writing. I know I probably did not, but the story itself was interesting enough for her to like guide me to someone that will help me. Me and that person stayed together for 10 years before, I changed people. And now I'm like taking a break from writing. But that's just how my career went. That's why anybody reach out to people really, because I'm really, really introverted. But anybody that reaches out to me, I make sure to handle them with kindness. Because if Rhonda didn't handle me with kindness, I wouldn't have even tried to do anything again. It would have just ended there.
It's actually wonderful how an encounter with one person pushed your ministry forward.
Yeah. I always call her my destiny helper.
Wow, like that's really an awesome story. And it's so beautiful seeing that, one good deed can literally change the trajectory of a person's life. Because I was just thinking, you and I wouldn't have been having this conversation if it were not for encounter with her, obviously God had already called you. So I'd like to believe that, as Mordecai told Esther, that if you wouldn't do it, God would raise you.
Yeah, of course. I knew somehow it would come out, but I don't think it would have come out in the terrain in which it did. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So, but the fact that she answered, and she answered positively, and that became the deciding factor in your writing career is just so awesome. And
at that time, because I probably would have said, okay, well, let me leave this thing, let me take a break. Procrastination will enter. I'll be like, okay, maybe next time. You get what I'm trying to say? So I believe that it would have come out, because if you wouldn't do it, God will lift up. So you understand what I'm saying? So I believe it would have come out, but it probably wouldn't have taken the direction in which it has, because some things would have happened. You know how the devil speaks to you. The enemy would have said, what do you think you were trying to do? Stick to these small ones you were doing before. You understand what I'm saying? You will, So I really always, that's why I talk about kindness and compassion so much, because you never know where the other person is coming from or dealing with.
Wow, this is such an awesome story, and I wish we had more time, to discuss and explore more about you and your writing journey. But I would definitely love to have you back. So please tell me you will come back. Oh, good. I love it. Please take you at your word.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Anytime.
So for anyone who would like to, visit your website, check out your books. I know they are all available on Amazon, right?
Yes. They are all available on Amazon, on any of these subscription things you guys that is available. Everland, what they call it, Kobo. What do you call it? Smashwords.
Smashwords,
There's one in Nigeria called Stella.
Oh, Stella, yes.
Yeah, there's one in Nigeria called Stella. I used to have paperbacks on Book Peddler, but the ones that I did have at that time got sold out. That's the thing with Nigeria and having paperback, the logistics. That's why I'm really surprised that I have a community on Telegram, because I'm not on Telegram, but at the same time, the logistics of getting paperbacks to Nigeria is so hard that...
That's why they read ebook. I guess they were buying on seller.
Yeah, I guess they were buying on seller. I guess and I need to check Telegram out because I don't even know what it looks like in the first place. I don't know what it looks like, but I really, really appreciate everyone who has picked up a copy of anything that I have written and has told someone else. I always tell readers, please, if you've read my books, you love my books, tell someone else. Word of mouth is still the greatest marketing tool ever. Word of mouth is still the greatest marketing tool ever. You like it? Yeah, I like it. Okay, tell somebody else about it.
So, it's on that note that we will be closing this interview. Like I said, I wish we had more time to talk, but definitely our guest will be back. And we'll definitely dive into, we'll go deeper, as we like to say here in Nigeria. We like to tell our men, go deeper, sir.
And you can find me on my website, my first and last name.com. It's very easy. And any social media thing is my first initial and my last name on everything. TikTok, IG, Threads. I try and make it consistent on anything. So for anything social media, it is my first initial. So that's you and my last name. For my website, it is my full first name, my full last name.com.
Okay. That's unomanwankwor.com. Yeah.
And you can dive in and, because I try to put my stories out there. You can see my characters. You can see the stories behind there. You can see the little cities I've created. You can just spend the whole day on my website just getting to enjoy the immersive things I've put together, so that if the reader sees this in my book, they say, okay, let me go to the website. Maybe there's something extra. And you always find something extra. Maybe an interview after the fact, or something. Maybe the character has had something that happened 2 years after I wrote the book. I'll put it there for you to read and know. So yeah, I use my website a lot. So visit.
You've heard it all. You've heard it all from my guest. And now you know why I was so excited at the beginning of the show. So once again, thank you so much, Unoma, for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And it's on that note that I'll be closing this interview. I will definitely be back. Thank you so much for listening. Visit her website. Follow her on social media. She's very active. And I will be back soon. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and bye-bye, everyone.
Step into the light where hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee, a hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee, a hope is found. Voices of love with a peaceful sound. The Christian reader calls to thee, a world of grace and harmony.